So what board games am I literally playing right now? What is set up on the gaming table? What am I working my way through? Well, right now, of course, and this game occupies and continues to occupy a lot of my tabletop time, Runebound. The chance to play through the different scenarios, play through the different characters. And while the end quests, what captures my imagination is the fact that it's just generic enough. Terranoth is just generic enough. And the game, while it has certain end conditions, fight a dragon, fight a necromancer, fight the Spider Queen, the ways you go about doing that, meaning I can go all combat, I can go all social, I can try to do quests. It's like multiple paths to the level up at the end. And I also enjoy, it's a good thing because it's a forced timer game. You have X number of turns to make decisions and then confront the end boss. Winner take all. So it hits the tabletop, you get to play it, you're ready to go. On the other side of the gaming table, Blackstone Fortress. I'm continuing my quest. No spoilers. And we're at the end of Blackstone Fortress. Games Workshop has put out, as of this vlog, releasing, I think, next Monday. We're getting the last installment. And I'm kind of mixed about this because I love Blackstone Fortress. It's this duality of when I'm not playing 40K, when I'm not playing 40K tabletop, I can still play 40K. And it's interesting as a way to explore the narrative of that gaming universe. It's like one of the reasons why you listen to Black Library audios or lore podcasts as you're painting. It's a total immersion. And I love that Games Workshop is doing that more and more. So the story of the Blackstone Fortress is intriguing. And being a dungeon crawler, which I love, if you've been following my channel, dungeon crawlers, absolutely. It's unique in that it's a sci-fi. Yes, it's set in the 40K universe, but it's a sci-fi dungeon crawler. There aren't that many titles that really do that and do that effectively. So I'm a little sad-faced last installment, but I still have a ton of content to go through, ton of replayability, and that's before we even get into a lot of the fan-made content that I just see available on some Facebook groups. That's amazing to explore. So we'll make our way through and see what we can uncover in the Blackstone Fortress. The next title that I'm playing right now, well, two titles actually. The next title that I'm playing right now was recommended, Sanctum. It's essentially Diablo the board game. I had posted, 2 or 3 weeks ago, a Fritz rant being like, I love Diablo. I'm all in with Diablo. So where's my Diablo the board game? And you want to talk about a license to print money, just sell the core Diablo board game, slap that IP on it, and sell packs and packs and packs of cards for item drops and loot drops and make it randomized, make it blind, and just buying crates and crates and boxes of stuff. I mean, I would be all in. And I was wondering why there was no Diablo board game. And this led into Dark Souls. I know I just committed absolute heresy right there. But one of the reasons why I like Dark Souls by Steamforged is Dark Souls the board game. Yes, it's a little bit clunky. Yes, some things were rushed, but it closely captures the Diablo experience. Again, absolute heresy in the Dark Souls realm. So you have your characters, you explore on the board, you fight, little tactical combat going on. You get some items, loot drops, you trade in souls for random items to draw. That's kind of like Diablo. You got a boss fight, mini boss, main boss, mega boss, winner take all, finite souls. You make it to the end boss, you die, you don't have any more sparks, you're done. And you're like, wait, I just invested 4, 5, 6, 8 hours real time of my life force into this game and I lost. I find that intriguing because it's winner take all. It's that chaotic neutral in me that wants to gamble it all away on the roll of the dice. But that said, it takes a long, long time to play. Sanctum is interesting. It's essentially a tracked game. It's a leveling up game. It's like a Euro that's disguised. And I'm not really much of a Euro player. I'm more beer and pretzels, but the idea is you have your character and you move along this track going through the realm to fight, can I say the Lord of Darkness? Can I say Diablo? I mean, it's just a clone of what it is to fight Diablo at the end. And in this movement, as you fight monsters and minions, when you kill them, you flip the card over and you get loot. And you build sets and you min-max and you crunch the numbers and you activate. And to beat the minions, you have to roll certain dice. So there's dice manipulation in there. It's interesting with how it plays. And at first glance, it didn't seem to have much depth to it. But in playing it, it translates well, or I should say translates just well enough for that risk versus reward of Diablo, where you're constantly getting new items, you're grinding items, you're getting items, you're figuring out how they work together, you're trying to boost up certain stats for when you fight Diablo or you fight the bosses, and in exploring it that way, the game works. It works for what it does. It works for what it is, and it's kind of intriguing, and I appreciate that recommendation because I totally missed the title. It's been out for 2 years. I mean, it's Diablo. Let's just put it that way with how it executes. And on a side note, I've been revisiting and spending way too much time Neverwinter Nights on iOS. Just with that, my Android is way too clunky, way too old. I won't say I'm like an Apple person, but too old. And I was waiting for Neverwinter to port over to iOS to play. Otherwise, you have to dust out my old e-machine and play it on that. It's a really good port. It works. It's flawless. It's got some premium content, and I'm jumping back into that, revisiting. This is a dangerous place to be because I spent so much time playing Neverwinter. It was out of control, and now I'm spending way too much time playing Neverwinter. But this feeds back into Diablo, where I love the analog. I love the digital. I love the analog aspect of games where you can play at your own pace and see the visuals and kind of pause and strategize out. But I also appreciate the compactness of being able to play some of these games, even though the screen is small on your phone or your iDevice or your tablet, whatever it's going to be. I wonder, and I've continued to wonder, okay, Diablo Mobile, I get it. We're going to have microtransactions and do all that, and they're going to try and milk you for the DLC and the in-game coin or gold or stones, whatever it's going to be. But how have they not, and there's a whole logistics and there's a whole background behind that, but how is it not just Diablo 1 remastered? Diablo 1, for what it did, played very, very well. Go through a randomly generated dungeon with 3 or 4 side quests per character that appear, and fight Diablo at the end. And you could jack up the difficulty, so the replay value is there combined with the 4 character classes. And, was it the Hellfire expansion? 6 character classes. I think you could play the Druid, something else. But playing that through, update the visuals, update the music, give it some more splash effects, give it a ton more item sets, and just sell it standalone. Sell it standalone for like $8-10. I've always wondered that. So kind of playing back into why isn't there a Diablo, the board game, and Sanctum comes about as close as possible to having an engine. Having an engine does exactly what it says it's going to do. You don't need more. You don't need less. I'm not even looking for expansions, being a completionist, because it just works. It just works for what it does. And then the other title, I won't say hit or miss. It's fun for what it is. And I've been kind of getting more into dexterity-based games. I think just the social aspects of it and being able to hang out and play some games and talk and not have to utilize my brain Euro crunching. Maybe it's the backlash of all the Euro players in my group. Looking into Catacombs, but I have to say I'm intrigued by the play of Catacombs in the theory, but the kind of edgelord artwork on it, it's not really my thing. And Fritz is about the visuals, 99% about the visuals. I got to get in character, so to speak. So I'm having a little trouble getting past that. But in terms of dexterity-based games, we were playing Flick Car. That got banned because a couple of guys had a little bit of nerd rage with it and just went absolutely nuts because the little sphere that you use to flick of your car placement, it's weighted, or I should say it's not balanced. So you can line that up perfectly. I'm not going to name any names, but my buddy's like lining up this shot perfectly, and he's going to do it, and he flicks it, and it goes, and then it like veers off to the right, falls off the track. You go nowhere. But in terms of dexterity games and being competitive, Fireball Island. Now, I backed the Kickstarter, played it a little bit, got caught up in a ton of other stuff, some new Kingdom Death Monster content, I think at the time, just totally, and some 40K stuff, some Battletech stuff. But just, I bought it, I played it, I looked through it, I'm like, it's kind of interesting, I put it aside. And now revisiting it, it's kind of fun for what it does. I mean, yes, sometimes the snake marbles and the bee marbles fall off and hit you. Sometimes something doesn't quite work out. I mean, it is what it is. But in terms of just moving some stuff around and complete analog interaction, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. And the social aspects of it and the competitive nature of it, I'm enjoying it. And what is really interesting is the retail version. You're not missing anything really from the Kickstarter, and the retail version. This is one of those games. I'm glad I supported it, because restoration games, the boldness. We're not even going to get into Return to Dark Tower yet. We'll put that aside for another time. I'm eagerly awaiting that. But the boldness of restoration games to revisit, re-image, and bring in current talent to reboot these games. I mean, the rumors about Return to Hero Quest and things like that. I need to support them at Kickstarter. I need to support them because this is what the board gaming hobby is all about. And in bringing Fireball Island, the retail is actually so discounted and so insane. It's like if you picked it up and played it 4 times with your friends and family, it's paid for itself. It's a fun game. Actually, we've got to do some videos on that. But it comes to all these wacky, crazy tactics, and one of them, I'm not sure it's really street legal. It's not really in the theme of the game, but with some of my friends, we regularly play Talisman. And if you've been following my channel, you know I'm an enthusiast. I'm a Talisman enthusiast. I love the digital. I love the analog. The 2 ways I play it is, one, just as kind of a fantasy storytelling engine. Let's just flip some cards, explore the realm, make the run for the Crown of Command, see what we can do. And I'm not really worried about winning or losing. It's kind of like, let's see what's around. But then, a few times a year, 4 or 5 times a year, 6 times a year, we get together, a group of friends, Talisman enthusiasts, and it's winner take all. Anything goes, absolute tabletop brutality, competitive play, scheming, alliances. I mean, just a lot of fun. We go into it knowing that full out. And some of those players I brought on to Fireball Island, and in playing that, the game isn't exactly very, well, I was going to say Euro. Crazy stuff happens. So this tactic that we've been looking at, there's a plastic tiger. And the idea is you can spend resources or get a card where you get to take the tiger and it's like leaping out at your character. So you line this plastic tiger up that has a little springiness to it and a little pad on the back. You line it up with the opposing character literally on Fireball Island, and you kind of like shoot the tiger at the character. It never hits. It goes everywhere. But now it's like we realize, like, don't shoot the tiger at the character, because in Fireball Island, if you knock one of the marbles or you knock some of the positions and it falls, that's where it goes. I mean, the players are not allowed to touch the board, but anything else is fair game. So in looking at this, it's like, why am I shooting the tiger at the characters? Like, I'm going to shoot it at stuff to have stuff fall and have stuff move and knock you off the bridge and do all this crazy stuff. So it's kind of like a homing missile. It's kind of like a just this missile shooting at you. A lot of really crazy, innovative dexterity type stuff. And I'm not really that well coordinated with that. But the secret sauce, secret weapon that I have is that kind of just, usually I keep the alcohol intake. I have to be careful of what I say on YouTube for the censors and the bots and the algorithms. But alcohol intake to a respectable amount. And as the night goes on, I just become more and more powerful and better coordinated and better able based on some of the good friends that I play with. But it's a really interesting title. It's a really, really fun game. And I've been finding myself drifting a little bit more towards the current games that I'm playing. I've been playing a lot of Gloomhaven. And the reason why I don't have Gloomhaven out right now and it's not in the video is because I was doing Gloomhaven on one side of the table. I was doing Kingdom Death Monster on the other side of the table and just making my way through that. And now I need to put the brakes on a little bit, go a little bit lighter storytelling engine, games that I'm not really taking that seriously, games that might not be as tight or as well coordinated, like just kind of just whatever Beer and Pretzels is, a little bit lighter than that. And I have to position myself. Jaws is coming, got that, so I got to work my way through that. And then, of course, I'm calling it Gloomy too, but Frosthaven, that's... And there'll be another Gloomhaven after that. I mean, I got to position myself well for that. And that's why I was making my way through a lot of Gloomhaven. But I need to take a little bit of break so I don't burn out from that perspective. So that's on the table right now. What are you playing right now, tabletop? Any interesting solo titles? Any interesting dungeon tiles? One game, and I'll leave this in closing, that I missed the Kickstarter because it was after and I heard about it and I'm like, how did I not hear about this? One game that really intrigued me in terms of a dungeon crawler. It looked to be built on the Hero Quest engine, the Hero Quest kind of layout, but utilizing updated mechanics, but not going so crazy where there's a million expansions and a million mechanics. So it's not quite a light game. There's some strategy, but replayability and mission and the atmosphere, I am very, very interested in it. Alter Quest. I'm looking to play that and potentially add that title to the collection. But when is the release date? And the final, the game that I'm really looking forward to, Seventh Citadel. I mean, if it builds on Seventh Continent, which is another title that I love, that was on my title, that was on my table recently too, but I'm taking a slight break on that. I completed the first 2 curses, no spoilers, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty immortal right now. So I'm like, this is a good place to take a little bit of a break and feel good about yourself for those accomplishments. But that storytelling engine and the fact that I see things on the cards, no spoilers, if you're making your way through the continent. I see certain things on the cards that I missed, and that's been there the whole time, and it's a clue, like, as an engine of discovery and different paths and resource management, it's a solid game. It's a really, for the price, it's great in terms of hours to play. And I'm intrigued to take that kind of Dark Crystal-esque fantasy, just give me a David Bowie guy with like the hair and play through Seventh Citadel. That really, really intrigues me. And I can't wait for that to release. I think the Kickstarter is at the end of this year. And I'm just hoping with all the craziness going on in the world right now, I'm hoping that Kickstarter doesn't get delayed that much. And this is also me waking up after blacking out for, I don't know what happened, backing Massive Darkness 2, but I kind of went all in, and, it's that thing, you back it, and you get crazy at the end, and you're like, okay, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when the Pledge Manager comes out, but that's, I just hope things aren't delayed so much with MD2. I just hope it moves along that pipeline and is able to deliver, and there aren't major disruptions, and that title gets pushed out. I don't think it will. But that's long-term on there. We'll look back and just kind of see. So back to what you guys are playing right now, tabletop, solo, with the group, titles you've been thinking about, and as always, comments, feedback, very much appreciated because it led me to Sanctum. And I totally missed that title, and I'm enjoying it for what it is, and it's a nice little diversion. It works really, really nice.